Good morning, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Accountants Connection webinar series brought to you by Your Business First. My name is Darren Xerri, CEO and Principal Consultant, and I welcome you today to this webinar called The 5 Key Areas to Consider When Planning for 2020. We've got a lot to get through today, and just before we get started, I'd like to thank everybody who sent through their questions or queries for discussion. And if anybody got any questions during the course of the webinar, please feel free to use the Q&A button on the screen and to answer the question, and we'll answer the questions accordingly. And for all of those of you who don't know, there's about 55 days to Christmas, and there's about 39 working days to Christmas, not counting Melbourne Cup here in Victoria. So it's time to get our planning session started, I would say. But before we get started, let's go through a couple of things. One is that let's start with the end in mind. What are you trying to achieve when you're going to plan for 2020? And what are you trying to achieve with your business moving forward? What is that long-term view? For those today, this webinar is not a quick fix. And if you're looking for a quick fix, this is not the webinar for you. This is to start planning and start your processing and planning for moving forward. The webinar is designed to provide ideas to free up your time to focus more on your clients. And some of the ideas and tips are provided will be at a high level. You may have already implemented some of these tips, which is absolutely fantastic. And some suggestions may be intertwined with other points. This is just a start, and there could be other topics you need to consider to plan for 2020. But what I've come up with is the 5 areas that we need to consider that I've been working with my clients over the past year or so that we've been talking about and planning for and working towards over the last few years. So as far as the agenda today, the first thing we'll talk about is what type of firm you are creating. And we'll talk about the 5 key areas to consider for 2020, which I believe is delegation, documented processes, giving immediate consideration to at least four areas, human resources and the options available, adding additional services. And what I mean is slowly adding additional services, and not only adding to our compliance, accounting and compliance, but also adding to our advisory services as well, and information technology, and see what the options are available. And after that, we'll talk about some hints and tips of how to run your planning day. And I have got an exciting offer for everybody today who's on this webinar. So let's get started. First of all, I want to know what you are trying to create for your business and what the end game is. An idea of mine is to just picture your business and what it looks like after you've finished it. Are you growing your business? Is your business, you're building a business to sell or buy another? Are you creating a legacy for your family or for the employees that you're currently employed that they can take on the business? Is it for lifestyle ideas, having less reliance on you as the owner? What do you need to do that? Do you need to improve profitability? Do you need to improve workflow, efficiency, or something else, or all of those? Do you want to be the essential partner to your client, so you be the one-stop shop accounting practice or professional services practice? And as far as that one-stop shop is concerned, what does that mean? What other services or offerings or people and other businesses you can work with, they'll make it the one-stop shop for your firm? So the first thing we need to look at is delegation. And this is probably primarily for those people who do have a team, or if you're a sole trader or sole practitioner, possibility of outsourcing some of your non-income producing activities so you can focus more on yourself and the business. Do you need to, who in your team can you delegate to? Do you need additional employees? Who in your team can you outsource to? Can you onshore or offshore? And we'll talk a bit more about that later. What training do they need, and how much time is required to put in that training to allow you to free up your time? And how will they be kept accountable? And following to that next bullet point, do they need some KPIs and some measurement and some ongoing reporting, training, and mentoring? And what is the cost of you doing it based on your charge out rate. I had a perfect example with a client I was working with several years ago. And when we started working with that client, he calculated that between 5 to 7 hours a week was doing non-income producing activities at a charge out rate $275 an hour. Now, I think you know where I'm going with this. At $275 an hour, at 5 hours a week, that's $1,300, just over $1,300 a week in non-productive work that you're focusing on administration and operational duties. When we've sat down with him and gone through that, and that $1,300, that equates to around about $71,000 a year. So what we did, we looked at the opportunity of putting on a full-time employee to take over most of the administration and operation side of the business that he undertook. He put in some processes and procedures in place. But not only that, he also freed up, by engaging this employee, he also even freed up the time some of the accountants were spending on administrative time as well, chasing up work, chasing up queries, compiling, etc., etc. So what do you need to do to free up your time and the investment required so you can produce enough income to cover for that investment and obviously build up your brand and your business moving forward? The second part I want to talk about is the documented processes. And again, what I would like you to do for those businesses who are at that planning stage is just to focus on the 4 simple basics. And as I said, some of you have done this and some of you are about to implement, which is fantastic. So we're going to talk about engagement letters for all clients, for all client groups. We'll talk about the onboarding process as well. A workflow process. Technically, well, basically work coming in, how do we do that? Work being processed, the consistency around that, and the work going out. What do we do with the work going out once it's been compiled? And then we'll talk about work papers and probably let's look at the top 15 or 20 letter templates and checklists that we work on, that we can have a consistent and designated document management system or documents for your business and practice. So let's start off with the engagement letters. I strongly encourage that all firms provide an engagement letter to all their clients. You have to if you're a CPA or a chartered accountant. The engagement letters does define the business agreement between you and the client. It outlines the fee structure. It outlines responsibilities. It outlines the obligations of the firm and the client. Without it, each party can be in legal limbo. While verbal contracts are legally binding, they're notoriously difficult to enforce. Just agreeing on something won't necessarily hold up in court if it comes to that. And it has come to that with some of the accounting firms I've met. The engagement letter does serve as a bigger purpose than just a business contract. The engagement letter helps you set out expectations. How many times have you sat down with the client, gone through the work that needs to be required, then all of a sudden there's some scope creep and additional work to be done for the same price? When you've set the expectations with your client and it's clearly laid out on what's included with your services, you'll reduce the scope creep. You can also specify how you'll proceed if the clients need more work to be done, which is outside the scope of the engagement. And for insurance purposes, the engagement letters also help you reduce risk. Using the engagement letters can help produce a professional liability insurance, and in which many insurers require it. If the insurers require them, then engagement letters must reduce liability and risk of doing business. But to me, there's also more parts to the engagement letter than just that from a legal point of view. It also talks about the fee arrangements and how the client can pay and what the agreed fee will be. And also giving them as much payment options as possible, such as credit card, direct debit facility, BPay, payment through your website, etc., and some other ways and means of paying your account. As most of you know, if you do outsource any services that relate to your client, you may need to outline the geographic location of the outsourced service provider and the nature and extent of which the outsourced services are used in the delivery of your professional services to client. You need to check your membership body to that, and I believe that they have some templates in relation to what needs to be disclosed on the engagement letter. And obviously ongoing engagements. Again, you need to speak to your membership body, but you try and structure in a way that you can cover off on fee increases in the future. This will just save you time in doing another engagement letter in the future and in the second, third, and further years. One of the things also I want you to look at when you're planning for 2020 is your onboarding process. By definition, the onboarding process is from inquiry stage to which is a new lead, to sign up. Most of you on the webinar at the moment do have an onboarding process, but whether it's documented or in your mind, I'm not entirely sure. But the bottom line is that we need to have a structured approach to this. And even onboarding any client, how do we go about doing it? How do we create the wow factor, and how can we meet the client expectations immediately? So when considering having a client onboarding process, you need to consider what is your process from the lead inquiry to the sign up. Who is responsible for what? And my suggestion is that we have one person responsible from managing that lead or that prospect. What is the relevant timing between stages? What does a prospective customer receive and when? Do you need to consider a CRM? And more importantly, is to increase the client satisfaction. What do they need to be? What do they need you to achieve in the next 30 or 60 days? That's imperative for them, and to increase their wow factor. Why do we need a client onboarding process? Well, I think there's about 4 or 5 reasons why. To me, it'll be less churn, there'll be more efficiency, doing the simple things really, really well and in a structured way. We will receive happier clients, there's no doubt about it. They'll stay longer and become advocates of your firm. And we'll receive more clients because they'll tell their business associates and friends about you and how you go about working with the client. And to me, that's free marketing to you. And lastly, this ensures compliance, that particularly in the engagement letter, which reduces scope creep and outlines the exact nature of the engagement and what needs to be done. And this all should be part of your documented processes and procedures for you and your team. So if the person who's looking after it is unavailable, then another person can take care of it. The other thing I'd like you to consider when you're planning for 2020 is your workflow. And what I've got here is a couple of ideas or from experiences in the past on how to go about creating a workflow process. I think what we should be doing is planning 12 months ahead, doing the capacity plan right now, and when you want the work to come in. We can schedule your top 20 to 50 clients to come in sooner than later, rather than having A clients, B clients, C clients. Maybe your top 50 clients if you haven't categorized them, and have that proper process in place. By having a proper process in place, we can reduce the human error. Each step in the process will have a script, a template, or a checklist, which I've created and developed for my clients. Also, during the workflow process, have your accountants, when they're processing the work, identify any value-added opportunities that they can see, that they can produce at the review stage for you to discuss, and if so, discuss with the client. And obviously, with a workflow, it's like a production line. We can't proceed to the next stage unless the current stage is completed in full. Your workflow should have milestones in place with due dates, etc., and who's accountable for each milestone. And maybe as well is to release some of your impact and time on the workflow. Have the accountant or the who's looking after the client or the administration team chase the work in and follow up on the work rather than going through you as the partner. By having a proper workflow process, we need to look at all the automation opportunities that there are. The triggers to start the process, anything to make us have visible at any given time to see how we're tracking with a particular job or a particular workflow. This includes scheduling, who's responsible for what, and even due dates and milestone dates. But as far as the workflow is concerned, what's done after the review stage? Maybe we should be sitting down with our top 50 clients, or even those clients who want to be part of your top 50, and have the face-to-face with them and go through what the results of the previous year's returns. Talk about the value-add opportunities, create agendas, discuss the areas of concern, and obviously how you can help them improve those areas. And from that, book a meeting for next year so we can get the cycle going and the production going for next year as well. As I mentioned before, I created a workflow process for a number of accounting firms with checklists, templates, and scripts. But again, the workflow process is not a cookie cutter approach. It's a process that needs to be designed to suit your needs and to suit the way how you operate in your business and how you want to operate in your business. As an adjunct to the workflow process, you will need work papers and templates. What are they? What are your tools and templates? What are your standard letters? Let's start with your top 50 or top 15 to 20 templates and checklists and modify those so we have a consistent set of templates and work papers and standard letters that the whole team can use and not to make up on their own. What is your policies and procedures manuals that you need to consider and at least start? And again, your work papers. Do you need to consider looking at other providers for your tools and templates? Those other providers will provide a comprehensive, I suppose, library of tools, templates, work papers, and standard letters that you can possibly use. And they'll save you time in modifying it for next year and getting ready for the templates for next year as well. And everything will be updated as far as legislative requirements if there's any changes. By having all this, obviously will provide increased consistency, provided that we maintain and we're oversee how things are going, and which leads to the repercussions. As far as repercussions are concerned, all it is if they don't follow procedure, if the employee or the team member have used the wrong template or the wrong, I suppose, work paper setup, etc., or they haven't completed the required checklist, then they need to give the work back and make sure that it's done correctly before it's reviewed. But also there may be some re-education required in which we can pass on and re-educate the employees of what's required to the business and why. So they're about those activities relating to document processes. The third part of the area to look out for and to consider when planning for 2020 is your team. And again, this is for everybody on the line here, whether you're a sole practitioner or you do have a team. We'll talk about 5 areas here. One's called finding the team, getting the right people doing the right roles. They'll join you on your journey, and they'll embrace the way you work in your business and your mission, vision, and values. But also discuss how much we can empower and delegate to them. What is their career path? Making sure they're aligned with the firm's goals, position descriptions, training and development plans, etc., and any specialisation. We'll talk about reward systems, managing performance, and we'll also talk about considering outsourcing and offshoring as an option. But the first part is in relation to the right people doing the right roles. And I suppose the first thing we need to do is how do we get them to come to your firm, and how do we attract them as well? There are the traditional ways in relation to recruitment agencies, and I still believe in recruitment agencies. One thing I've noticed when I've talked to accounting firms is that I always hear, or most of the time I hear, I just can't find the right people or I can't find the right staff. Now, sometimes that happens because you've got an employee who leaves, you haven't been in the market to search for an employee, that employee leaves and you need to replace that employee. And unfortunately, at that particular point in time, there hasn't been the appropriate candidate that has been that you can find. I truly believe there is the right people for the right roles in your business. It's just a matter of timing and when they're available and when you're available. So what does that mean? We all know about the traditional recruitment agencies. They can be quite expensive, but we could always negotiate installments to pay their fee, and we also extend the probation period as well. But more importantly, I believe that candidates are far more favoured to go through a recruitment agency just for that confidentiality aspect to it, and if they for that consideration, but also more along the lines of the getting the reference checks done as well. But what I'm trying to say here is that as far as recruitment agencies are concerned, I believe you should be kept in contact with one, maybe two recruitment agencies on a consistent basis, whether it's quarterly or monthly, just to see if there's any candidates out there, anything coming on the books, whatever. Because just because you may not be looking for a candidate right now, there may be a candidate available that might be is suitable for your firm that you could possibly consider and structure your firm in that way. So there's just something to ponder. But also as far as online as well, a lot of us use Seek and Indeed and other means of online job searches. Particularly with Seek, once you're registered as an employer, there is a section to target individuals who've lodged their resumes or CVs on their on Seek that you can search and also identify if they fit the criteria for what you're looking for in your business as well. And as you know, with the online and leading to LinkedIn as well, they do come at a minimal cost. And you could also target, particularly through LinkedIn, you could also target your connections on LinkedIn just to see if they know anybody that's in the area of looking for a role that fits your business. And obviously ask current team members if they're really happy working with you and if they're really happy with their career path, then they shouldn't have an issue referring other people that they know who are looking for a job to the business. Rather than paying a third party like Seek, LinkedIn, or a recruiter, you can give them incentive as well. So there's just a couple of things to look for when you're trying to find the right people. Another thing is in relation to a documented career path. What is the employee's career path and what are you trying to offer them? You have to be specific in who you need and be fair to the applicant. For example, if you looking for an accounting and compliance person, but you've got a gun employee who's come in to interview for a role, but they want to specialise in SMSF audit compliance, and you don't do that because it's not your firm or you outsource that to somebody else or somebody else in your firm is doing it, maybe that person's not the right candidate, and you've got to let them know on that. Candidates need to have position descriptions as well, but to identify exactly what they're doing and not doing, and also give you clarity as well about what their roles are. Obviously, position descriptions are subject to change or be modified with agreement, but everybody should have a position description. Training and development plans. If you've got the right person working with you, why not give them the right career path and the right training and development plan, which is aligned to your practice growth? Why don't you have a competency framework in place so your employee or your team member are aligned to what they need to do to succeed? There are a number of, particularly of the large accounting firms out there who've got a publicised competency framework and what employees need to achieve to go from one role to the next role either as an accountant or right up to partner stage. And as far as career path is concerned, and if it's aligned to your practice, maybe provide them with a specialisation. It could be in particular software, or it could be in relation to particular areas of tax of legislation for tax. But at the same time, they could be in different stages of the career as well. There are some accountants out there, as we all know, that just do not want to be a senior manager or aspire to be a partner. They just be happy processing. And if they fit your practice growth, then that's great. But there are some others who want to aspire to be a partner and be in your role. So we can guide them and provide them with that career path to help them. And that could be part of your plan for 2020 to creating that career path and what that looks like for your team and your team members. Having a documented reward system. To me, this is not as simple as it sounds. Reviewing, obviously we have to make sure we're paying at market, and I'm assuming that we do pay at market, but even implementing a bonus structure, what does that mean? And I think the best thing to do is, or one of the things to consider is talk to the employee and ask them what they want as a bonus. And it could be that they may want an extra week leave over Christmas or during the course of the year. Maybe income protection or tickets to sporting or cultural events, or maybe helping them get fit, or maybe they don't want anything at all. They just want to be properly mentored by you to get to partner level. But whatever it is, the bonus structure must equate to the dollar value of what the bonus is. For example, if they achieve certain outcomes and certain criteria and it's a $2,000 bonus, then we have to make sure that either the income protection or the tickets to sporting and cultural events equates to the $2,000. But we also have to keep in mind that it should be monitored, that all team members working, they may be working in silos and not wanting to focus on anything but getting their own incentives. My thoughts on this is that their performance behaviour results in the bonus, and it is not guaranteed that they'll receive an equal or higher bonus each year. So what we're alluding to is that it shouldn't be the expectation of moving forward of what the bonus is or will be. The criteria, the benchmark, the KPIs always needs to be adjusted and reset moving forward. How do we go about measuring performance in our organisation? Do we just measure on timesheets and write-offs, or do we do something else? I think what we should be looking at as well, as far as measurement, is jobs completed matrix, which is also accuracy and timeliness. Passing on efficiency information on software to help them do and the firm do a better job. What about the value opportunity ideas for clients, and which is depending on the role? For example, an accountant who's processing the work, they may have a KPI or a measurement of providing ideas for value-added opportunities, but the partner or manager, as their KPI or measurements, needs to implement those ideas and those opportunities for the clients. And depending on the role as well, the client visits and calls made to your top 50 or to your A, B, C type clients. Are we making those client visits or those client phone calls? And maybe even just doing a client satisfaction survey and just seeing how they found the job. And that could be done even during an official documentation, or it could be done the next time you're sitting down with the client just to see how satisfied or not satisfied they are with the service that you're providing. Look, there could be plenty of others, and there's no doubt there's plenty of others out there. But this should be done on a weekly and monthly measurement criteria. For example, as far as the jobs are concerned, may be done on a weekly measurement. But as far as value-add opportunities or client visits, that could be a monthly measurement as well. So again, that's just something to plan for and discuss during your planning session for next year. The other thing to talk about is outsourcing. Now, for ethical reasons and I suppose other reasons, a lot of firms, a lot of accountants do not like outsourcing, particularly to outside the premises of the firm, and more importantly, to overseas as well. But I believe this is something that we need to consider as part of our business. If you remember the CPAs or CANs, they've got some criteria and guidelines and recommendations about outsourcing or what to do, what not to do. But just to let you know that according to B-Star, and these were stats from last year, not necessarily this year, but from last year, about 30% of accounting firms were outsourcing at least some of their accounting work. And I'm assuming that's increased this year. To what number, I do not know. But we do know that clients are more savvy now as far as their accounting, and they do start to shop around for a cheaper compliance fee. So we need to consider if outsourcing is way to go for our business. But at the same time, if we do expand our our accounting compliance offering, as I mentioned previously, or then probably what we can do is reinvestigate that. But a lot of firms now are having their accounting, tax, and compliance staff outsourced, whilst having staff with strong advisory and business development skills in their main office. They also become the key point of contact, and that's something that you consider for your business moving forward. And the last thing I want to talk about with team is obviously meetings and keeping each other accountable and on notice insofar as what's changed and what's happening within the business. I suppose from a staff meeting, workflow meeting, and partners meeting, we all need agendas set for these particular meetings, and we need to have a purpose. For example, with an agenda for a staff meeting, this could be done monthly. We can identify what's working and not working within the business. The office champion can update us on the changes in software or changes in legislation if they're a champion of compliance. We talk about the client experiences, why clients have left and which clients have left and why, and clients have come on board and who referred us. The findings from the review stage that the partners have identified. Is there more training needed? Do we need to provide, how is our adherence to processes and procedures and providing valued opportunities? Are we on top of that? But then there's also a weekly workflow meeting. And again, this should be done weekly. What jobs will be going out at this week? What jobs are there any jobs on the file at the moment that we may or will exceed budget? And what can we do to minimise the loss? We can identify what the jobs are coming in, and do we have the capacity, and do we have the pipeline of work in the office for the next 30 days or 60 days? And does the partner need to get involved in any particular way with a particular job if there's any issues or challenges of maybe getting work, getting queries answered, as an example. And even with partners meetings. And again, if you're a sole practitioner, then you need to meet with yourself. You go through your own financials, including the debtors, upcoming cash flows and cash inflows, go through the KPIs, go through the benchmark reports as well, outcomes from the staff meeting and what needs to be done, the new clients that come on board and where they came from, why we lost the clients, and what we should stop doing, and start doing within the business that's come up from the last meeting. Identify the potential clients in the pipeline, including the referrals from clients and strategic alliances and where they're at. We maybe want to measure how many clients are on fixed fees at the moment, or they're on some sort of a package. And we also get the update on the lodgements list from the ATO and making sure that we're up to date with the lodgement list as well. So there's lots to consider as far as your team's concerned. A lot of it will be, as I mentioned before, what you may have been doing as well. But hopefully there's a couple of ideas as well how you can improve the team and the way the team performs it within your business. And this is something I like now, part 4, the additional services. And I've broken this into 2 parts. And the first one is your compliance offering. And look, I understand that most accountants are not traditionally comfortable with sales and marketing. And to me, that is perfectly okay. The accountants I've worked with in the past and all my career, we are relationship builders. We don't go out there knocking doors and say come and do what some sales people do. We are relationship builders, and our philosophy is building the trust. But that's okay, as I mentioned before. But I think what we can do as well, we can expand our compliance offering. Our clients believe that what we do is we do their financials and we do their tax returns. And obviously there's more to it than that. But do they know that? And is it documented in any way? And what we can do as well, we can have a mindset shift, and we can make this official and expand our compliance services. So again, with the top 50, maybe top 100 clients, I don't know what your database is like. Maybe we'll have an annual board meeting with them. So once the client and once we've finished the compliance, we can offer a face-to-face meeting when we've completed the accounts. You create the agenda, you go through the accounts and identify what went well and what needs to be attended to, how the cash was utilised, the key business drivers, and identify the areas of concern and how you can help. But more importantly, if you're having the meeting at the client's premises, maybe you walk around the premises and identify some key issues in relation to processing, layout, staff behaviour, etc. And just identify some of the things that you've and discuss with the client and see if there's any ways we can improve. A lot of us do offer the tax planning meeting in April or May when we sit down with the client and conduct some interim accounts. So as we know what's required here when we do some income tax planning, but maybe it's a part of our compliance services as well. And we can identify some of those key things that we can do with the client, then how can we reduce their tax and we can charge a fee for. So if you do attend to the idea of having an annual board meeting and having a yearly tax planning meeting, then that's potentially a meeting with the client twice a year. You may want to offer at least a quarterly board meeting, which equates to meeting with the client 2 more times a year. And again, we just go through the accounts, see how they're progressing, what's come up, what's working and not working. Ask the right questions to the client about their business and identify the key areas that where you can help them as well. And this could be in line with their business with their business activity statement cycle. And as a top off, as far as compliance service offering is concerned, we can have like a half yearly function or networking event where we can have a speaker talking about changes in legislation, tax, etc., that's relevant to the clients. So these are some of the key things that we can make our compliance offering work and expand it on. And as far as that's concerned, is that what we need to do is that have the opportunity to provide in our engagement letter of what the services that they're getting for the fee that incorporates everything that we do for the client. And this is just making it a bit more official and hopefully increase the wow factor for the client. There was a particular question that came past in relation to adding additional services to your firm. I've got some notes on that, and particularly for accounting firms who want to extend their accounting compliance offering. I'd like to know, what is advisory services to you as the partner? Is it just preparing maybe a cash flow forecast or a profit and loss forecast? Is it doing business planning? In order for us to create advisory services, we need to know what advisory services not only we want to offer, but also what's suitable for our clients as well. And if it's not suitable for clients, do we need to target a new market? What can you offer that makes you unique, that's different to other accounting firms? And it could be in relation to being a one-stop shop for your clients' needs. So you might have affiliations with a mortgage broker, or financial planner, or a legal team, etc. Do we need to document and describe all our services? Do we package them up, for lack of the better words, like a gold, silver, bronze package? Or do we offer a menu of services? Do we know what our clients, the services that we provide, and do they know that we do offer them to them? But whatever we do, we need to do a proof of concept. And what that means is that, in particularly when you're planning for 2020, if you come up to plan for your packaged up services or menu of services with pricing, speak to a couple of your clients about it and see what they think and see what's missing, or maybe it could be that maybe too expensive, or maybe too cheap, or maybe that they're doing that at the moment, but they didn't know, and that offered. And it could be that the offer is that they're paying the fee on a monthly basis, on a fixed fee basis. Whatever it is, we still need to do a proof of concept. But some of the things that you need to think about when you're creating additional services is, as I mentioned before, what are your clients' needs? Do you have that client database that that's quite mature, that they don't necessarily need to have the business advisory services that you offer or want to offer, and you need to articulate the value. But going back to point one, so as far as your client needs, if that's the case, as far as your service offering, do we need to target another audience as far as your business services and the business advisory services that you're providing? You need to articulate the value and to identify the value to the client, and everyone knows about that through the literature that's been going around in the past from other resources. But as I mentioned before, when your team is processing the work, they should identify some value-added opportunities that you can provide to your clients, and then you can discuss with them if it's valid and reasonable to the client. The client, we need to be proactive because the client may need the help, but they haven't asked for it because they don't know that you do it. So that could be a consideration. How do you price for the services, and what is the services, and how do you implement the services, and really, as I've been alluding to, why are you doing these services as well? But with all this, you probably do need software, and embrace it and identify with it and embrace what it can do as far as the additional services that you do want to provide to your clients. And you need your team's involvement. You can't do this on your own. The team needs to be involved with you, and you need to embrace what they can potentially do for you as well, as far as what you're trying to build with the firm. So as I mentioned before, what are additional services and what is advisory services to you? Here's a few I've got here that maybe you can have a look at and consider. Again, you might be doing it, but it's not in an official capacity or in the capacity that all your clients know about or not disclosed on your website. So as you can see, there, a lot of it's not accounting in the pure sense. There is coaching and mentoring. There's development, implementing systems. There are board meetings. There are planning sessions as well, and cloud conversion sessions. There's also marketing. To me, this is part of a true business advisory services that accounting firms should be offering. It'd be great to get your feedback as well, on this, and see what other additional services that you can provide. And as we mentioned before, we can talk about we can talk about the packaging up of your services that may include some of these options here available too. So the last thing what we need to consider for 2020 is, obviously, to me, is really important, is information technology. What I'm talking about here is that a lot of us here are still on desktop, still using desktop-based software, which is fine. But we need to embrace and look at what are the other options are available as well to manage and to grow your firm. Identify what is out there. What are the options available? But more importantly, how can they be applied to your business moving forward? My first point of call is that to talk to your current account manager and tell them what you want to do with your business, and see how they can help from a cloud sense. And also with the same, also talk to their competitors and tell them what you're looking for. And they may offer you alternatives that's more suitable to your needs. But one thing I will say is that, what I've learned is that a lot of the software out there is terrific, and a lot of the software out there is not so terrific. So what I mean is that not all software will do exactly what you want it to do. So we need to have a look at that. What are the options available, and identify with the best software that will be most suitable to our firm. And a lot of the software at the moment now, they do have the add-ons. And look, if you have a team, they can become specialists in these add-ons. If you've got a large retail client base, maybe there's some one or two retail software add-ons that the team can embrace and learn and pass on to your clients and make them more efficient as well. But to me, automation is the key moving forward. I think that we need to take a breath and just identify what is out there and talk to everybody that we can possibly talk to in relation to the software and what you want with the moving forward with your firm. So again, yeah, cloud, obviously cloud is the key. Everybody knows that. So it's a matter of you embracing it and taking it on and working with your accounting professional body and also other bodies in relation to cybersecurity, client protection, etc., etc. You can have people in your firm become specialists as well, and getting their certification. They can run seminars. They can provide training to your clients who are coming onto that software as well. You need to figure out how to get your clients onto the cloud. And really, for me, you need to get the assistance of your account manager, and they'll help you and guide you with that. Use the technology to run your practice, what your practice management software, accounting and bookkeeping, and value-added services as well, such as KPIs and benchmarking and what-if scenarios and projections. But from an internal and external point of view, from an internal point of view being your firm's needs, maybe you need to look at some practice management software out there, a CRM, job flow manager, document management system. If you're running SMSF compliance software, and also doing corporate compliance, some corporate compliance software as well. Any other software that you use that you can investigate the competitive product in the cloud. But externally, you need to base your decisions as well on your clients' requirements. Again, your clients are in different stages of your business and at different levels of maturity. So you have to identify software that's most appropriate to them, or there could be software that's not applicable to them. You may need to focus on a new target market to help you grow your business. But that could also include the document management storage for them, marketing software, point of sale, and business advisory software as well, maybe with some cash flow forecasting software. So that's it in relation to the 5 key areas you need to look out for and consider in 2020. So the next thing to do is encapsulating all the ideas we've discussed, and no doubt you've got some more ideas and more on how-tos, etc. You need to run your planning day. My suggestion is that run it off-site and have a facilitator. Make sure you run that, and that facilitator runs to your agenda. Obviously, all the owners need to be there, and maybe if you want, and depending on the size of your firm, you can involve your key employees. Maybe not more than 3, maybe 5. But again, if you're some of the firms on the webinar now that has 5 staff members, maybe they can all get involved as well in your planning day. You need to share the ideas and discussion, and there will be robust discussion, and no one should take anything personally, because we're all here for the betterment of the firm. And we need to make sure we get alignment and get agreement on where we want to take the firm as well. And there's obviously there's types of accountability. So I'll just go through some of the questions that have come in. And again, please feel free to ask any questions through the Q&A. One of the questions, I'll just have a look. So one of the questions that's come in at the moment is, what are the cost-effective program for practice management, ledger and tax? Well, I think that's a great question, but I think as well, it also relates to the size of your practice as well. You need to know exactly, as far as the size of your practice, that will determine what type of software or cloud-based software that you need to implement. I think that again, talk to your account manager and talk to the competitors as well, and just to identify, as I mentioned before, what you want to achieve out of your business and what you need from the software, and see what can come up and develop. But more importantly, and there's another question's come in, training. If you are going even with your current provider or with your new provider, you need to stipulate the training and what training is required, and need to get clarity on that as well. There's been far too many cases where I heard when accounting firms have moved from one supplier to another, that the training hasn't been adequate and up to scratch, and they've engaged other people to provide that training and also clean up some of the mess that they've made. So, are there any other more questions? Darren, you have covered some key areas for planning. How do you best prioritise the projects as the list may be never ending? Well, thank you very much for that question. I hope the list is never ending, but the priority for you is whatever the priority is for you. You may be, different accounting firms are at different levels, and different accounting firms have different staff levels as well. So from a priority point of view, I truly believe is that it's up to you what you want to prioritize in your business. But more importantly, you need to also take into account the other aspects as well when you're making decisions as well. That's why I said right up front, this is not a quick fix. This is a long-term view as far as growing your practice. So I hope that's not a cop out. I just truly believe that the priorities that you set for your projects is basically up to you based on your on where you are in your business. But more importantly, making sure that we do tackle everything that we need to tackle in your projects, whether it's a 6-month plan, 12-month plan, or a 2-year plan as well. So thank you very much for that question. Yeah, as far as business advisory services are concerned, again, by implementing a business advisory service, I don't believe you can just do that in one day. There's a lot of work that needs to be done with the business advisory services and what you're also capable of doing as well. There's a lot of, but more importantly, I wouldn't implement or promote additional business advisory if you need to clean up and some of the aspects of your business from production and workflow process point of view. So again, one step at a time, prioritize what needs to be done, and then move on from there. Okay, since there's no more questions, I will proceed. Now that. So basically, you've got 3 choices. Continue going as you are, and what I've fed you today, or what we've spoken about today, is that yep, you've taken on board, and you're going to you don't need to do anything, which is great. Congratulations on that. I wish you all the best. Well, number 2 is that you can facilitate the planning day yourself. There's a couple of key ideas that you've taken away from this webinar that you want to implement in your planning day, and you need to facilitate that. So I hope I'm happy that you've taken some key ideas away. Or 3, you can seek the assistance of your business first, in which I will keep you accountable, help you develop that plan, manage the change, assign the task, responsibilities, and timeframes, and help you keep everybody on track. So what I'm offering today for everybody on this thing is the planning day that I run with my clients. So there's basically broken up into 3. There's a pre-work session, understanding of who you are as a firm and your ambitions and challenges and where you want to take the firm. Then we run the actual planning session, which is with you, all the business owners, and up to 3 key team members of your team. We'll conduct a SWOT analysis. We'll identify what you should stop, start, and continue doing in your business. Identify what is your why, and identify your top 3 priorities right now. And you probably noticed there that I don't talk about mission, vision, and values and culture statements and everything, because, as I mentioned before, we're at different stages of our business cycle. So if we need to implement mission, vision, values, etc., then we put that as part of the planning day. The planning day is what we want to achieve in the next 12 to 24 months. And then there's post-work sessions. So what we'll do, we'll create the 12 to 24-month plan for you to present to the team and move on. But again, that plan could go for 3 years, could be a 5-year plan, whatever we come up with in the strategy day. And as you know, as business owners, the plan can change as well. But at least we'll have something documented and structured. So my offer today is for everybody who for attending is that sign to a planning day. If you sign to my planning day on the 8th of November, by the 8th of November, you'll receive a complimentary follow-up session within 30 days of the planning day. So what you will get is you'll get to choose a date in November, December, or January, which is subject to availability to run your planning day. I will facilitate it and just go through the criteria as I mentioned before. You'll walk away with a plan for the next 12 to 24 months, maybe even longer. You'll save on the logistics and time to get to venues because it can be conducted in your office. And obviously, if you don't have the infrastructure in place, we can do that off-site, and we can discuss that. You can have up to 3 key team members involved and participating in the planning day as well. But more importantly, this could be free, this planning day, because you can replicate this with your clients as well. The feedback I've received from the planning days that I run is that it's been tremendous and valuable. So I can't see that being any different to anybody online at the moment. But more importantly, you and your team will be aligned with your goals and plans moving forward with your business. And the complimentary follow-up session, that's a maximum of 2 hours as well. So I'm not there for 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I'm there with you for 2 hours within 30 days of the plan being implemented. So that everything there is for $2,500 plus GST. And I put an asterisk there as well because some travel costs may apply if you want me to come into state. So again, if you want to find out more, please email me at inquiries@yourbusinessfirst.com.au or contact me on my mobile, which is 0407 823 633. I'd love for you to take advantage of this opportunity that I'm offering to the attendees today. I wish you all the best. Thank you very much for attending the Accountants Connection webinar series, and I look forward to seeing you at the next one. Take care, everybody.